Hello, Elemental Family. I am Abe with Mystic Gen Mara, your host for today's reading. I am a small town mystic from the middle of Idaho, and today we are going to be looking at the week of June 22nd through the 28th, and we will be looking at it through the lenses of the elemental energies. If you're curious as to why I read for the elements instead of the zodiac, there's a video linked in the description down below, and there's also some other cool stuff down there if you're interested. If you have never had your charts read, there's a really fun link. It's not any affiliation to me at all, but it's a really cool product. It gives you your base 12 houses with full description, 10 to 20 pages of it, but there's also a section in there, depending on what your alignment is, describing what those elements mean in relation to you. But with that, we'll get started with our reading, which we start off with the energy of fire. Fire covers the zodiac signs of Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. So we're starting off with, for fire, the Isa rune, which is the rune of ice. So something's cooling down our fire just a little bit here. We have the color of black. Tarot association is the Hermit, and astrology is the moon. It is some kind of an obstacle, coldness between people, a time to observe, keep silent, refrain from commitment. So fire, very clearly it's saying this is not a time for your usual action-packed type personality. This is a time for you to be a bit more reserved. And when we have the Hermit tying into that, it's saying step back, observe. You are not going to be the main player this week. This is a time to just pay attention to what's going on around you, but you're not being called to big time movement or action. And they're saying that this is actually a good time for you to do some of that inner work, maybe work on that side project you've been, staring at for weeks now. Like, I really need to get that done. This is the energy that's coming forward, is whatever you've been driving for, it's time to push pause. You're not stopping. It's just take a break from that for a second because there's other things needing your attention. Your second rune is Thurizaz, the god of strength. And this is actually your rune. It's color of bright red. Tarot association is the Emperor, and astrology is Mars. So this is tying into that fiery male energy that fire is pretty much known for. Protection, providing help or good news coming to you. So you're going to need all the strength that you usually would push towards other things because you're in a pause state. And that's saying your forward drive is no longer the focus this week. It's not saying that you're not going to go back to it next week or even halfway through the week, but you're really going to be paying attention to the subtleties and stepping away from active roles and things that you normally would be active in. This is going to require a little bit of that strength of will, and we're talking capital W will, so this is divine will. And when we pull back that energy just a little bit, it's saying two things happen. One, you can see the broader picture, and two, this is also opening you up to receiving help if necessary, or you could be stepping back and seeing that, oh, you need to offer some help. So there's a lot of interesting energy coming in for our fire family this week. It is not going to be the usual push forward and do your thing. It's actually saying pause, reflect, because there's something else that needs your attention this week, fire. And they're saying they're not saying it's negative. They're just saying the current direction you're on is still important. Don't stop moving that direction, but pause because something else is really calling your attention right now. So however that manifests for you, these are general readings after all. So we will hop over to our Earth family, our gnomes, which is Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. So Earth, let's take a peek where you're at. There it is. We have the Fehu rune, which is one of the Elder Futhark. It is a color of light red. Tarot association is Tower, and astrology is Aries. Earth, if you have some association with fire, pay attention to that this week because there's something going on. We've got good luck, success, fertility, and harmony, which are good rune words, but you're associating with Aries, who is the fiery upstart who wants to start a war with everybody. But Aries also is really powerful in beginning new projects. It's that drive to see what you can accomplish, so that is really good. The heads up here is you've got the Tower card associated with Fehu, which is really saying this is where things may need to be torn down so that you can build something better. That is not always the most comfortable energy, Earth, but this week is really saying pay attention. You're going to be getting inspired for movement, but you might have to tear something else down to get what you want. Now, this they're being really aggressive right now. This does not mean tearing down another person. This is something that you have or something that you've been kind of working on that maybe needs to be disassembled because there's a flaw in that code somewhere. And this way you pull that out, you can rebuild it and it actually comes out better on the other side. So your second rune is the Algae's rune, which is a rune of protection. Color is gold, tarot association is the moon, and astrology is Cancer. So you have conflicting energies this week, Earth. Signifies protection from danger, resisting temptation, new beginnings are possible. Because Fehu is fire. Algae's is water. Action, intuition, intelligence, creation. Outward projection, inward reflection. You have an amazing week ahead, and that's also a great opportunity for Earth to alchemize, which is probably not the right word for that, but that's what's coming forward. This is where you get to change how things play out. You get to change how you show up in the world. This is saying there are things that need to be taken down. There are things that need to be fixed. Just because you're taking it down doesn't mean you're destroying it, it just needs to be fixed. Because an Algae's is there to protect you. So as you're kind of rearranging and rooting through whatever's going on for you, Earth, you have this intuitive ability to dodge the big potholes, and that allows you to actually move forward with great amount of success. And there's a lot of positive mojo going on behind the scenes, but in the forefront of your mind, the things you're seeing in front of you, it's not going to be the most gentle week. But the reality is, the bigger picture, this is something that you've been kind of planning on anyway, and now it's just being forced into action. There's a lot of energy going on, if you haven't noticed. This goes for everybody. So pay attention to your intuition. And Earth, this coming with that moon energy and the Cancer energy, get inside and pay attention to what your inner voice is saying. That is going to be such a huge benefit for you. So let's take a peek at our air family, which is Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, all of our sylphs out there. We are starting you off with, turn to page, Inga's, which is the rune of fertility, one of them. Color is yellow, tarot association is judgment, and astrology is new moon. Completing a project or idea, a new beginning, a time of positive energies, good fortune. So air, you are in an amazing transfer point. You have just completed one spot. You're in that rest period where you get to celebrate. Look, I completed it. And now you're ready to move on to the next. You could also be completing a step in a much larger project. Just as with the last week, we went through and checked on our mid-year energy, if I could talk. This is where you get to see where have you been, where are you going, and how far have you come in the moment. So air, you're actually setting yourself up really well this week. It's starting off with a bang. And your second rune is Perth, the rune of fate. We have the color black. The tarot association is the wheel of fortune, and astrology is Saturn. So this is a little bit of a you did good, but you're not done yet. Mystery, chance, unexpected material gains and surprises, hidden things coming to light. So, air. You've completed a great deal. You've made a lot of progress. You're in that state where you've completed stuff. You've kind of plateaued yourself. Up the mountain, up the mountain, up the mountain. Okay, now you're here. You can rest. You can chill out because now it's time to go back up the mountain again. And that's the energy that's coming forward. Saturn is coming in basically saying, don't you dare think you get to be lazy. And the Wheel of Fortune is like, okay, you're making your cycle and you're on the upswing right now. So you're in the process of elevating this energy, and that's where being tied into the mystery, being tied into, ooh, what could happen next, that excitement for the unknown. You have a main goal, but you have so many steps along the way that can be so much more fun if you are willing to see them as something to learn from and expand from. Air, you're all about knowledge and wisdom. You love to be able to expand your baseline in that respect. And so that's the energy that's coming forward for you, is stepping into that enjoyment, stepping into that exploratory mindset, because like I said, you've come a long ways. You've moved into a new platform, so this is your new foundation area. You're not going to drop back down here. You're already up here, and this is where you're going to bounce back from. But now it's time to figure out what's next. Where are you going? How high do you want to climb? So let's take a peek at our water energy. Water covers Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. All of our fishies and undines out there. And water, you have a blank slate this week. You are starting off with the word rune, which is the fate rune. No markings, therefore things that are happening are meant to happen, and that's where we're headed. This blank rune signifies mystery and fate, the unknown, to have trust and faith in the divine. So you're starting this week off, this energy that's coming forward and mixing in here with, you might have your plans, the universe has other ones. You might have your ideas, the universe has other ones. You might be working towards a certain thing, your karma has a different story. This is one of those things where the week's kind of taken out of your hands. Now, does that mean good, bad, and different? It all depends on what you've had set in motion. If you set in motion some really fun stuff, this week's going to be a blast because it's all just going to happen. If you are in a more neutral state, this week could be a little interesting for you. And again, not negative, just maybe not showing up the way you thought it would. And I can tell you from experience, this upcoming week is going to have some interesting things for all of us. I have interesting things going on this week, and I don't know how this can play out. So we all have those things. We also have the Algae's rune. This popped back up for you guys. It's a rune of protection, color of gold. Tarot association is the moon, and astrology is Cancer. So we're really stepping into our own authority here, water, and it's saying you are protected, divinely protected. Don't worry about stuff. Signifies protection from danger, resisting temptation, and new beginnings coming in. Cancer is the first of the water signs. It's also the one where things can get seeded and watered pretty easily, so you're really in a good spot. Overall, the Tarot Association of the Moon is saying, listen to your inner story. Listen to your inner guidance. The outside world is going to be making a ton of noise this week. But water, that doesn't really apply to you this week. You are stepping into a different timeline, and they're really wanting you to know that it doesn't matter what other people's opinions are this week. You have fated your life into a different path. So there are things that have to play out because that's just the nature of life, but these things you're protected from them. You're not going to be negatively associated. This is a way for you to step out of that dark. Be like, okay, I did the thing. I've done the fated. Can I move on? And the Algae's rune is saying, we've guided you through that because you needed to deal with this. And now you're stepping into this higher timeline. Water, the energy that they're showing me is this beautiful moonlit stream, and it's literally elevating you out of your current path. And that current path might be great, but where they're taking you is amazing. And if it's not so great, they're taking you from not so great to great, or to at least good. So you've got this movement energy for water this week that is definitely going to be leading to something better, something uplifting, and something spiritually satisfying. This is not a time for you to be worried or too fearful, because fate is covering you. Fate's taking over, but Algae's is there to protect. So work with your guides and guardians this week, water, and really ground into that sacred place of divine safety and security. That way the world can do whatever it needs to do out there, and it's doing some things, but you're not in a part of that anymore. You're beyond this, is what I'm getting for this week. Now, does that mean you're going to bounce back in later? Possibly. But this week, you're being shown that you're stepping out of that. It's no longer your concern. So, overall vibe check for the week. This is for all elements. Pay attention to your intuition. That is really a strong vibe I'm getting this week. The world itself is shifting. She is crying out for a difference. And I don't know if we're actually going to understand when the shift happens, what just happened. Because it's going to happen in a way that's going to uplift us all, but it's also going to surprise us because it's not going to be what we think. And I don't care where you stand on anything, really, and that's not being rude. What's happening is beyond our awareness currently. After it's over, it's going to be like, oh, that's why that happened. But in the moment, none of us know what's exactly coming up. I don't care how many tarot cards or how many runes you pull. We're not going to see what's going to happen. So this week is really about do the inner work, take care of the things that you can work on. Every element had that inspiration this week to look inside and to see what we can do in here. The outside world is going to outside world. Let it just do its thing. Be a mess out there. Fix your house. Get yourself in order. Spiritually, physically, clean your house if you have to, whatever it is. This is going to be a week about the fated projects. The things that need to happen are just going to play out. You're being protected. You're being guided through this. So follow your intuition and step forward in grace and beauty. With that, I will let you guys go. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you in the next video.